we are becoming like great on technique and technical skills and knowing how to teach a ballet leg and how to increase our DD, blah 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 blah. But it was just eye-opening when I asked those questions and they were like, oh yeah, I care about my athletes. I bring the plan and we get medals and they're gonna feel that they're gonna love me. And I'm like, okay, what about the person? What about the people? What about them out of the sport? So we're gonna talk about connection. We're gonna talk about trust, strategies, communication, team culture, and what we can take away. And hopefully you guys think about this when you're coaching back home. So why connect matters, right? Like we've seen it, that there's a high increase of engagement, motivation, emotional connection, resilience, self-confidence. In Doha World Championships, I mean, our senior national team has been thrown out, been through a lot of challenges. I think you guys know most of the stories, but knowing that your athletes would react positively and go on and beyond. If you have a challenge, you need to think about 1 second, what are you gonna do it? Change your suits, just go and swim. This emotional connection about we know exactly what we need to do and I'm gonna go on and beyond, that was what we had on our 2014. And I'm not just saying about the 8 Olympians, I'm saying about the whole squad. Everything that we built, and it was all about the emotional connection, the trust, the engagement, then go beyond the purpose. That was the values were so highlighted in every day of our practices that it was just beautiful to see it. In Paris, right, when we had to increase the DD and not such a huge thing anymore, but how do you go in the middle of the Olympics and you just have an informal, really informal conversation about, hey, what about we increase 3 points of your DD? And they were yeah, okay, let's do it. There was not a blink. There was something that were we know each other, we have this connection, and we're gonna go for it. We know exactly what to go, we know exactly the trust is there, and we're gonna go no matter what. So those moments were the moments, and I know that I'm talking about super high level, but it's on the high level that is sometimes you don't see those things. Sometimes you for many years, I would say, on this job, we were second guessing ourselves about, are we being too nice? Is that what we're doing here? Are we, I think we were judged a lot about oh, but you have all this how are we gonna make medals? How are we gonna get to the results if you're not really pushing the athletes, if you're not giving everything into the technical side? And we were really focusing on developing the athletes out of the pool as well, and that paid off, right? That was our secret recipe to the success. And when I see this connection and emotional connection about them doing whatever it takes, it was exactly what was our purpose in the beginning, and we succeed in Paris. So that was such a beautiful thing to happen, and it can happen in early ages, right? When you see that coaches are also almost a mother figure or a parenting figure. It's something that sometimes you spend even more time with them, and this connection, it's super important for them that you also care about them as individuals. Okay, I came back. The impact of not connecting. Lack of motivation, miscommunication and misunderstanding, decrease of performance and trust. But why do I do that? For what? What's the purpose? I think athletes, even young ages, they really looking for it. They really looking for what's the purpose? Why am I doing this? Yes, the community, yes, the teammates, but it needs to have this trust, it needs to have this communication, it needs to have this connection into what am I going to take out of this. So for me, the key principles for the athlete-coach connection would be the empathy, consistency, respect, and communication. I have like quick story to tell. I coach club level, very low level actually, in New Zealand for 3 years, and very young coach, and I definitely didn't know what I was doing there. But one of the things that I think I had a sense from the beginning is that if I didn't connect with the athletes, I would not get anything out of them. And it was a culture of, Kiwis are very close, shy, and not shy, but just they don't talk much, like they're not communicated, like it's British, right? Like very formal, very Porsche, and it's not much about transparency in the communication. So this athlete will come grumpy every single practice. Every single practice. And I'm very, if you don't know me, I'm Brazilian. I'm very expensive, like I'm very, not finding my words, positive, and like I smile a lot, and I love hugs. Sorry, Victoria. And if someone comes to my practice grumpy, I'm like, what's going on, right? And then I'll be like very like, okay, Carolina was her name. Why are you grumpy? Like I would be direct with her, and then she's like not talking to me at all. And she would give me attitudes at practice. She would be like very high, like to deal with, right? And it took me a good year to understand like, how am I gonna approach this kid? How am I? And she was good. She was one of the best in the club. And I'm like, okay, I tried everything. And here at practice, I'm asking her, she's not talking to me. Like if someone doesn't want to talk to me, too bad. I'm just gonna forget about her and whatever. So in one of the conversations, and I will promote, we're gonna talk about this strategies, right? But I will promote things that, just go out with the team and do barbecues and go to the beach and like do some team building. And in one of these meetings, I decided to bring the parents. Scary, I know. But I decided to bring the parents, and I was talking with all the parents, whatever. And I talked to Carolina's parents, and I'm like, you guys, because I knew that she lived far away from the pool, it was like an hour drive. She was living on a farm. And in one of those conversations, I found out that who would drive Carolina to practice was her grandma. And sorry, it's all gonna make sense. And then on the way back was parents. And then okay, I found out this information, great. And at some other time, I spoke with Carolina, hey, so you drive with your grandma, right? She's like, yeah. She immediately closed. And I'm like, okay, is that a bad thing? What do you guys do? Do you guys listen to music? Do you talk? Or do you don't talk? And she's like, my grandma, and this kid went on and beyond with grandma venting for me, like my grandma just complains, she hates me, she doesn't like to drive me, it's an hour, it's a nightmare. Like I hate when she's driving me, she's driving me crazy because she just complains about the fact that she needs to drive the Carolina to practice because she's helping the family because they have 4 kids. And I'm like, oh, okay, so we have a problem, and maybe she's grumpy about the car ride, and that makes sense. And then I make time to talk to the parents, not that the family problems are my concern, but that is there because she likes the sport. She has a connection, loves whatever reasons, she loves the sport. But at some point in this logistics of going to practice, she was not happy about it. And then I find out that there is another athlete that lives close by, and I suggested, why don't you share rides, right? Like when you go to practice, you just go with somebody else from the team. And then that happened, and Carolina started coming with a smile on her face. And I'm like, oh my God, this is such a good turnaround, right? And she appreciated that so much. She didn't say anything to me. She never talked to me about it. But the way that this kid turned around, it was like, for me, it's memorable. Right? Like, I don't forget this story, because then she became one of the best athletes in the club, and best athletes in New Zealand. Actually, started the program from zero, and she went to World Championships. Not that results matter, but for her to keep going on the sport, because she was literally on the edge of like quitting, because it was getting miserable for her. It was getting like so heavy for her, this car ride, that she's like just light up and then become something very positive towards the end. So I connected with her, but not really like talking. It was like a different approach, but I was able to, have empathy for the fact that she was like struggling with something, and I empathize with, I would be doing the same. I would be grumpy. My grandma like would complain for an hour, right? So, just like something that sometimes, like, I would never ever thought that Kalina would be someone that would turn around and say, like, appreciate something that we do, because just her attitude and this just personality, she was completely opposite than me, but I was able to empathize about the fact that she was having a problem, right? So you can motivate through connections. She was motivated after this situation. She was motivated to get better. She was like much happier. But you can show validation, instead of only focusing on the results, noticing the effort that someone puts in, that I can see how hard work you've been working in practice, like little things that can show validation for them. Set goals, personalized goals for each individual, and celebrate the little wins. Sometimes you have like a long journey, like long season, but each individual have accomplishments, something they can be individual or with a team, but celebrate those milestones, celebrate those things that, you got better here, well done, I saw the effort here, and then that really paid off. Okay, just working. And the challenge that it can become with connections, right? So difficulty, personalities or behaviors, culture or generation differences, trust issues due past experience. So I have a lead coach that is my friend of mine, that for 5 years now, she calls me complaining how this new generation complains, ask a lot, need to know the plan the whole time, and opinionative. And I'm like, 5 years. And sometimes it's like being empathetic about, like, right now, those athletes, they can go online and find everything they want, and they think that they don't need you, right? It's true. And in fact, at some point with our team, we were like, you don't need us. You can go out there and do this alone. You not necessarily need to be the person that needs to be loved and like, oh my God, I need that coach. But also, you want them to understand your plan, have the purpose. It's why not have a talk? Why not explain your how, your why? Why not? Like, it's good to be challenging. It's good for them to know they're smart people, right? Don't think that they're attacking you or personal. This is like the miscommunication that we often have. And this elite coach, my friend, I'm not gonna say the name, she puts everything on the athlete and like, oh, this is a generation issue, like it's so hard to work with them. I mean, if you don't involve, they're evolving. If you don't involve, you're gonna be behind. Guess what, right? Like the great coaches that we are talking about, they are not the ones that just give results. They are the ones that, in my opinion, take care of the athletes as individuals. very unfortunate, but this elite coach, my friend, she's great. She's great in life. She was great, but she got stuck. She definitely got stuck, and she's not gonna go anywhere. And I lost the patience as well to talk because, you know, at some point, if you don't understand, you don't understand, you don't want to understand, and too bad. And well, solution, right? Approach challenge with empathy and patience. With my athlete in New Zealand, I was very patient, very patient, and I had empathy, and I was just, it took me a good year to, you know, talk and understand what was going on. Clarity of roles, values, and expectations. Sometimes athletes, they don't even want to go to nationals. They just want to have a great swim. What great swim means to them. What does that mean, right? Be open to feedback and willing to learn. Somebody said about that, feedback. Sometimes, I mean often, people take it very personal and they don't want to listen or they don't want to hear the feedback. And it's so important for us as coaches to be able to take it, not on a personal level, but okay, all right, I'm not listening to my athletes, I'm not communicating, so I'm gonna do small steps into evolving as a coach. So I wanna pause for a second and I wanna hear from you, what would be solutions for, I mean, if you have any problems with connecting with your athletes. I mean, two things, right? Like if you have any problem that we want to discuss, or if you have solutions and something that happened in your club or with your athlete, if you have something that you want to share that, you know, touch base about this, like having empathy, patience, the roles, expectations, be open to feedback, things that, you know, I think it was Eugenia that said if your athlete like reach out to you and shared some feedback and you were like, okay, I think you can do that. Then what? Anybody wants to share?
Like I tell the athletes, use your voice. We want to hear your stories. Karen?
I don't have a solution.
Okay,
I'm just going to share one of my challenges that I had this year. At UCLA, we're all volunteer coaches, and I had hip replacement done in January, so I missed January, the end of January and February. Collegiate season is over in March, so I missed most of it. And when I got back on deck, I was behind the game because I didn't know all the routines, right? I asked for the videos, the coach's cards, so I could study and be ready. And we're being very, very efficient. We have no head coach. We have a coaching team, and we use 2 iPads, and we're very, very efficient. But I felt unappreciated by the athletes. I felt, not all of them, one in particular. I felt like all they wanted me to be was to be their technology operator. They didn't really give a about what I had to say as a coach. And I walked out frustrated. Didn't have a good solution. You know, finally discovered, okay, I need a video. Okay, next one, you know. And so I'm open to suggestions.
Good. I think one of the biggest things that come to mind is, do you have a clarifying role about what do you do on this team?
Because I was missed most of the season.
Yeah, and who's the leader, right? Like who's the one that set those roles? And for you to jump in a team that it happens with the same with the athletes and happens a lot with the national team, like what is the purpose there? What is the role, right? Because if you're frustrated, it's because nobody told you what's your role and what's your responsibility and what they want from you. And sometimes they want to volunteer just to record the iPad, right? And probably it's not you, but it can be somebody else. But also the communication, right? Like there is nothing wrong for you to approach the leadership and say, hey, I'm frustrated with that. There's nothing wrong, hey, that happened, and what can I do, right? So I think that comes with the communication as well about like, there's nothing wrong. I got frustrated, that happened, and I want to be better. I want to be here to support the team. What do you need from me? Yeah. Denise.
Okay, I haven't coached for a long time, but I have a story like your Colleen story that lives
Yeah.
in my heart.
Yeah.
Because I probably didn't approach this with empathy and patience, right?
You,
Denise.
Yeah.
So, years ago, I had athletes, and many of us find ourselves in this situation where we have an older athlete and a sibling, a younger sibling. I was coaching the younger group. This athlete didn't want to do what we were doing at practice, came up from underwater, looked me in the face and said, I hate you. Now, we've had those days, right? This was a 10 and under athlete. And I said, fine, go sit on the step. I still remember this. Go sit on the step. And the athlete did. And then after a while, I went over, talked to the athlete, and found out, much like you did with Colina, that athlete did not want to be there, but it was easy for the parents to bring two kids to one place rather than allowing this athlete, who really wanted to do speed swimming, to go to speed swimming practice. Long story short, eventually we put more of a focus on swimming so she could be like the star. She didn't have to compete with her older sister who was in another age group. But I often think back to, did making her go sit on that step for 15 minutes make a difference? Did it make her think differently, or did it make me think differently? Anyways, just a story that I think we've often had those instances, and how can we build more empathy or enhance our communication to be better coaches.
Thanks for sharing.
Hello. Okay, so trying to kind of go off of communication. As a coach, I really try. I've had really good examples of coaches, and I've had some not so great examples of coaches. And when I first started coaching, I coached with one of my teammates, and there were certain things that would, come out of my mouth, or I would do or say, and it was not like the greatest examples. And so I'd be reminded, be like, hey, you kind of sound like you know who, and it would kind of like, oh God, I can't do that. I don't want to cause that for my athletes. A big thing with communication is maybe we all haven't, but we've all seen coaches who have kind of that control issue where they want the power, and we wouldn't know why we were doing this set, or like we wouldn't be allowed to see what our set was. And I think her reasoning, and she never told us the reasoning, but her reasoning was she didn't want us to see how hard the workout was, so then we wouldn't try it as hard as the beginning, or I think that was the reasoning. But I find it to be very helpful to communicate what the goal is for practice, and letting them know, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it, and like I don't want you to give up, but we need to learn to push through. So just that communication piece, and I think as much as having a good example of a good coach is very helpful, I think also having that example that you don't want to be like is also very helpful if you can reflect on that and actually identify that it was a problem. If you can't identify it and then you end up just being like that coach, then that's a problem, but I think that helps.
That's great. I think I had I would say 10 different coaches in my career, and then talking a little bit more like senior national team, older, and different cultures as well. So I had, I mentioned this yesterday, like Russian, Chinese, Canadian, Americans, Brazilians. But I think when I started coaching, I didn't know what I was doing. I think that's a fact. But I knew what type of coach I didn't want to be. That's a perfect example. I was like, my philosophy will be I'm gonna take the best of each coach and I'm gonna be my own character and my own way of doing this. And I guess like I healed from the bad experience, but also I really want to provide the athletes how beautiful this sport is, and probably this is my vibe on artistic Sunday, but build on this and show the athletes how a great experience they can have with the sport and develop them in and out of the water. So that's my why, and this is perfect. That remind me when I start coaching. Anybody else? Yes.
I usually view coaching as a partnership. Of course, it is unbalanced because as a coach, I do have more experience in training and, of course, just life experience. But without the athletes and without my swimmers, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And it's likewise for them. They wouldn't be doing what they're doing if I wasn't there. So I've kind of refined my technique sometimes where I do give them the why of what we're doing. It's not just because I said so, because I got a lot of because I said so as an athlete. And it really didn't help me learn why we were doing the things we were doing. And if there's something that they have an expectation of that they want to change in their routine or change kind of how we're going as a team, then I have to be kind of open to listening to that because, again, it's a partnership.
Thanks for sharing. That's great. Camille.
At the beginning of our season, we started doing like a meeting where we set expectations for the athletes. We sit in a group and do it, but by team, not just like as a full age group. So each team routine, and then they also get to set their expectations for us as coaches. And it's been really cool to see because they like bring different ideas and things. So that's been really, really cool. And you have to like be a little bit vulnerable and a little bit open to hear what they have to say, and it can like kind of hurt a little bit, but then you can always take that time to guide and reframe before you're in the water when things are hard and tensions might be a little higher. It's like a really good way to kind of set up that expectations that you have as a coach and that they might have for you, and it's really a great thing.
Love to hear. How long ago you started that?
Last season. But I really thought it was a great thing. And then we met with them one-on-one midway through the year and kind of asked how they felt, so not as a group.
Awesome. That's great.
I just want to jump on the Camille bandwagon on that one because I've seen that many, many times where the athletes, if you don't ask for what the athlete's expectation of the coaches are, you don't really know. And also being an athlete where the coach wasn't delivering what I needed to have happen. So I think that's excellent. I think it's really exciting because then it results in both happiness and satisfaction for both the coaches and the athletes.
Yeah, I just want to point it out that on that piece, and Camille, you're probably doing this, but the follow through, right? Like when you ask for feedback and when you are vulnerable and opening up the floor for them to talk about you, make sure that you follow through. Make sure that you actually, even if it's small, just make sure that you do it, because then we're gonna talk about this. You lose the trust, right? Yeah, so talking about trust, like lead by example, show genuine care, and keep your promises. So if you open up for them and they're asking you to do more warm-ups and more flexibility, and you're like, oh, yeah, I can do this. And then you start doing for 2 weeks, and 3 weeks, this is not happening. 4th week, it's not, and the next month, you just came back from the same regimen and same training plan you had before the feedback. The trust is not, you don't build the trust. It's not, they're gonna be like, oh, she's not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen. Why am I bothered to do this? Why, this is, I'm just saying it to say it, but they're not listening. So just make sure that you follow through. And the genuine care, right? Like if you set the goals and you're there and you're saying, okay, let's do this, but am I really caring that if the athletes say like I actually don't care about if I'm gonna medal or not, and you like saying we need to medal, that's the goal, that's what we're gonna do, we need to push harder because we need to medal. Like, do you really care about what they're saying? Do you really care about them, of what their goals are? So just make sure that this is very aligned with your athletes. And the strategies, right? Like we spoke, Camille saying like the one-on-one check-ins, the goals, challenges, learn about the backgrounds, interests, strengths, great opportunities for casual conversation outside of practice. I'm gonna say that it is very important what you do on practice, and it takes a lot of effort to connect with your athletes. Like my Kalina's story, it took a good year for me to connect with her, but it was on the moments for that example that I was out of practice that I was able to connect, that was able to understand my athlete, that was able to learn how she was as a person more than just as an athlete. And maybe Denise shared the story that she was a little too late to understand that this kid didn't like artistic swimming, and it was not because of her. She didn't hate her as a person, but because she was the coach at that moment. And then I hate you, I hate this, why am I doing this? Is the athlete just expressing themselves in a different way. She was expressing to Denise at that time, but she probably was expressing to the parents and they were not listening, right? Like, and you as a coach, why are we making them suffer? Why are we making them going through this if they actually don't want to be there, right? So, and just remember, every athlete's different, and personal connection really requires effort. I have 2 small kids, and sometimes as a coach was like, do I need to stay 1 more hour to talk with this athlete? Yes, I do, because this is the most important thing that I do as a coach. And my husband's like, are you gonna come back home? And I'm like, yes, just finish up something, I need to go and get out of practice and go for coffee on a Sunday. And my husband, do you really need to go? And I'm like, yes, I do. So those moments that really requires effort, and it's hard. So the communication piece, be an active listener, provide specific and actionable feedbacks, read nonverbal cues. So in our sport, it's a lot of us talking, it's a lot of us saying, it's not much of the athletes, right? At practice, if the athletes are saying too much, you don't like this, stop talking, let's go focus, right? What is the body languages? Are they like not having a good time? Is it something that they're chatting and rolling their eyes? And like, you don't want your athletes to be rolling eyes every single practice at you. Just pause for a second. Just take your time to see and check in what's going on. So this communication about how they express, you're breaking out of a hybrid, and this is a non-negotiable. We cannot break out of a hybrid, and she's doing this constantly, going on and on. Something's going on. They cannot tell you, but something's going on, and you need to stop for a second and talk to them. And team culture. This is another big piece that comes from listening to athletes, comes from hearing your athletes, connecting with your athletes, and that can go a long way and become like a big team culture. And then this is like encourage team bonding and through activities like group dinners. Like I said, in New Zealand I did a lot of barbecues with my team just to let them talk between them and getting a lot more social media, understanding them. In practice, like making like fun moments, like not just warm-ups, but it can be doing challenges. Promote peer-to-peer respect, encouraging teammates to support one another. In the senior national team, we have this like strong team culture when we, like everybody has a superpower. This is facts. Everybody has something that can bring to the team and it's their superpowers. And we look to each other into like, we need to see how Jamie trusts and how Nat trusts because they are super high and let's see it, let's go in the water, let's pause. They feel motivated, they feel like special, valued, like this is like encourage them to respect into like everybody has something good, otherwise they will not be here. Like our sport is so hard. Everybody in your team has some superpower that they can show, they can learn from each other. And this is connecting one another. This is connecting and making sure that they are like, oh, I look up for you. You know, you're my teammate, but that's so nice to have you in my team. So, and model inclusive behaviors. Make sure that everybody's valued and everybody's feel heard. And a few takeaways, right? Like connection is trust, communication, and genuine care. Every athlete has is unique. Adjust your approach. Simple, consistent actions go a long way, and a coach-athlete bond is the foundation of a long-term successful bond. And just gonna close up with athletes don't care how much you know until they know how much you can. Thank you. I'm just gonna open up for questions if you have any. I'd like to hear from you as well. It was really good sharing earlier. If you have any challenge as well that we can discuss, that would be great. What? If you're not, so we just finish a little earlier and we can have a break. Thank you very much.